In this video, we'll solve the following three equations by completing the squares. Let's look at problem A here. To complete the square, we only need these two terms here. So first, we're going to move this 57 to the other side. So subtract 57 on both sides. So you have x squared minus 14x equals negative 57. Now I'm going to add a number on both sides so that these three terms becomes a perfect square trinomial. In other words, it becomes x something squared. I already know it's x minus 7 squared because it's always negative 14 divided by 2. Right? Okay, what is this number? Well, we can find this number by looking at the middle number, negative 14, divided by 2, and then square it, which is negative 7 squared, which is 49. So we will add 49 on both sides. Okay, so we have x minus 7 squared equals, here we have negative 8. Now we can solve this equation by using the square root property. X minus 7 equals plus or minus square root of negative 8. Okay, I know it's plus or minus 2 square root of 2i if I simplify square root of negative 8. Plus 7 on both sides, x equals 7 plus or minus 2 square root of 2i. Now let's look at B. X squared plus 3x is equal to negative 5. We already have these two terms on the left side perfect. We just need to add a number on both sides. Okay, how do we find this number? Well, let me write the problem again. Okay, so I want to add a number here. This number can be found by using 3 divided by 2 and squared, which is 9 over 4. So I need to add a 9 over 4 on both sides of the equation so that these three terms become x something squared, right? It's x what squared? Is always the 3 divided by 2. So x plus 3 over 2 squared equals, these two terms add up together, negative 5 turning into a fraction with a denominator of 4 will be negative 20 over 4, right? If you multiply the top and the bottom by 4. So plus 9 over 4, which is negative, well, 4 at the bottom, negative 11. Okay, use square root property. X plus 3 over 2 equals plus or minus square root of negative 11 over 4. So square root of negative 11 over 4, that's square root of 11 over square root of 4, which is 2i. Okay. Now leave x by itself. X equals negative 3 over 2 plus or minus square root of 11 over 2i. If you want, you can even write your solution like this. Negative 3 plus or minus square root of 11i over 2. Now let's look at C. What's so different about C is the leading coefficient is not 1 anymore, it's a 2. So I need to get rid of this 2 so it's easier for me to complete the square. So I'm going to divide everything by 2 so that the leading coefficient becomes 1. So I will have x squared plus 2x plus 5 over 2 equals 0. Okay, if I want to solve it by completing the square, I only need these two terms. So I'm going to move the 5 over 2 to the other side. So subtract 5 over 2 on both sides. You have x squared plus 2x equals negative 5 over 2. Now I'm going to add a number on both sides of the equation so that the left 3 terms becomes x plus 1 squared, right? How do I get the plus 1? Because it's always this middle number divided by 2. So 2 divided by 2, 1. Okay, so what is this number here? It is this 2 divided by 2 and squared. So it's 1 squared, which is 1. You need to add 1 on both sides. So x plus 1 squared equals, let's add up these two numbers. 1, if you turn it into a fraction with 2 as the denominator, it's 2 over 2. So that's negative 3 over 2. Okay, square root property, x plus 1 equals plus or minus square root of negative 3 over 2. So let's focus on simplifying. So that's x plus 1 equals plus or minus. Okay, first of all, I know there must be an I here because it's square root of a negative number, right? Square root of, on top is square root of 3, at the bottom is square root of 2. However, in math, we do not like to leave a radical sign in the denominator. So somehow I want to get rid of that square root of 2 in the denominator. So what I'm going to do is multiply the top and the bottom by square root of 2. How would that help me? Well, let's see. I have x plus 1 equals plus or minus, okay, here at the bottom, square root of 2 times square root of 2 is 2. On top, square root of 3 times square root of 2 is square root of 6. I. Last step, subtract 1 on both sides. So you have x equals negative 1 plus or minus square root of 6 over 2i. This is my solution. I have two complex solutions. On your own, solve this equation by completing the square. I'm going to review the answer in 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay. So first of all, we need to add a number on both sides so that the left 3 terms is something squared. It's actually x minus 4 squared. Okay, what is this number? It's negative 8 divided by 2n squared, which is negative 4 squared is 16. So we need to add 16 on both sides. So take square root on both sides. X minus 4 equals plus or minus square root of 26. Well, 26 is 2 times 13. You can't simplify it further, so we'll just leave our answer like that. Add 4 on both sides. X equals 4 plus or minus square root of 26. So you have two real solutions. One is 4 plus square root of 26. The other one is 4 minus square root of 26. I hope you got it correct, and I will see you in the next video.